Good morning, everybody on my channel, MLB channel. Welcome back into Baseball and Coffee. It is Friday, October 10th, 10:30 in the morning. We had two games yesterday. Dodgers eliminating the Phillies. Once again, this really nice Phillies roster falls short in the postseason. No Zach Wheeler. I feel like that was a big factor, but also this was a very tight game. There was a couple of interesting moments in this game in terms of strategy that I want to look at just off the top a little bit. Then we got to get into this Brewers-Cubs game. Cubs win both games at Wrigley, force game 5. Coming up on, looks like that will be tomorrow, Saturday, from Milwaukee. So that'll be really good. And tonight we got a great game 5, Detroit and Seattle, Scooble Kirby. So we got a lot on the docket today to cover, even though it's only really, two games and a little bit of recap of this Dodgers-Phillies games, but thanks for hanging with me today. Good morning, everybody, on both streams today. So, exciting little simulcast action here in the morning on Baseball and Coffee. So, I think what I want to do first, though, is I want to... So I really want to watch a lot of this Cubs Brewers because I went to sleep. I didn't really watch a lot of it. It was 3-0. I watched the Ian Happ homer early. Other than that, I didn't really watch much of it. So I want to recap, especially how good these pitchers did. They were fantastic for the Cubs. Back-to-back days. They ran out the same dudes. It's Palencia, Pomeranz, Keller, Thielbar, and they did their thing. Definitely Roki. We'll watch. I think we should just... So first we're going to start actually with the Dodger-Phillies game because this had a lot of juiciness in it. And I watched pretty much the whole game yesterday on Baseball After Dark. So if you want to go to last night's stream, when this is over, you can catch all of that. There's quite a bit there. A lot of meat on that bone last night. This was a heck of a baseball game. 2-1 in 11 innings. Obviously, it ended in a very unfortunate fashion. For me as a pitcher, watching Kirkering go through that, not a good feeling, but yes, we're gonna get to Roki. We're gonna get to everybody right now. The first thing I want to draw our attention to is the decision to intentionally walk Ohtani to get to Betts for with bases loaded here in this game. So let's go over here real quick. Phillies, Dodgers. And it was this moment. So Christopher Sanchez gets in a little bit of trouble in the 7th inning. There's a ground out, a walk, and a single. This single right here to Kike, which triggers Rob Thompson to go out there and get Yohan Duran, right? Decides to go in, bring in his biggest gun, his biggest bullet that he's got, and fire it right here, trying to hold this one-run lead. So Duran comes in. First batter he faces is Pages. You can see how bad the glare was in this game on that first camera. But anyway, gets it to Pages, kind of inside outs it. Harper decides to take the safe play, and now you have an open base situation. So second and third, 2 outs, Duran on the mound, facing Ohtani. Rob Thompson decides to walk him. Now, philosophically, I don't love to ever walk anybody that sets up the bases loaded situation because... and this is just my opinion, and I'm curious what people in my chat and everybody else thinks about this. The reason why I don't personally love it is because it gives the pitcher a few more ways to lose the game. You can walk the batter, and now you don't have that open base to work with. You can hit the batter, and now you don't have that open base to work with. You still have wild pitches in effect. Any hit obviously beats you. What else? Obviously, the game ended on an error. But honestly, it just added to the confusion whether which base to throw to, in my opinion, a little bit for Orion last night. He panicked, ends up going home, had plenty of time to go to first. He didn't even see that. But again, your mindset kind of shifts when all the bases are occupied. I would say the only advantage to having them loaded is you get a little bit better matchup that you want. So they end up with a Mookie versus Duran matchup. So the fact that you're choosing to face a 2-time former MVP is interesting as well. And the other advantage that you have is that there's a force at every base. So if there's like a ground ball close to the base, they can just pick it up and touch it. So There's all those factors, and then I want to layer in the factor that Ohtani's been super duper scuffling in this series. What are his numbers even last night? He ends up going 0 for 4 with the 1 intentional walk and the 2 strikeouts. I know he had a little bit of a history versus Duran. He had 2 home runs off of him, including one earlier in this season. So there's a little bit of history there. But ultimately, I think it kind of makes you pitch a little bit differently. And if you watch this at bat that ensued between Duran and Mookie after the intentional walk, there's 2 key swing decisions in this at bat that I feel like, maybe even 3, that I feel like tip the scales and forces Duran to have to throw strikes. Ultimately, he's trying to not give up a hit here. So you have to thread the needle between throwing close pitches and making sure you throw strikes, because obviously if you throw balls and the guy spits on them, you risk walking in the tying run. Now, I think the first pitch is a good example right here. Now, in this situation as a batter, you're thinking the pitcher cannot afford to fall behind me, so you're getting ready for a strike. A lot of people would have swung at this pitch. This was a filthy, filthy pitch with incredible drop at 98. You can see it on the camera angle here. Look at the drop on this pitch. Mookie takes that easy out of the hand. Shows elite batting eye right here. Super nasty there. And then another good take on the 1-0 gets him to a 2-0 count. So now you're in a 2-0 count. You have nowhere to put him. If you walk him, it's a run. So you got to come over the plate. And this sets up a challenge heater situation. So even though he doesn't get beat on this pitch, the fact that he had to throw a 2-0 predictable challenge heater is not ideal either. Then he gets to 2-1, and he still has to get in the zone. Tries to go up. Mookie with a nice take there as well on the 101 up now. So he spit on a pitch below the zone. He spit on a pitch above the zone. So he's really got him zoned in north-south. And now it's 3-1, and your back's against the wall. You have no choice. You're not in a great spot in this at-bat, but you got to throw a strike. Pours one in there on 3-1, but you still got to throw 2 balls in the zone in a row when you're facing a batter that won't chase. Mookie ends up making an incredible take, and this is the second swing decision that I loved in this at-bat. That's a tough take on 3-2. 3-2 is a huge chase count. This is 101.4 mile-an-hour heater. Yes, it's above the zone, but this is a very enticing pitch when you have to be ready early for 101. So I give huge credit to Mookie for laying off, but ultimately the strategy doesn't really pay off because it goes intentional walk, regular walk, and now the game is tied. I understand Shohei is the best player in the game all around. I do think, though, that this was just an interesting case. Would I have done it? I think I would have went out and talked to Duran first and try to figure out how he would have wanted to pitch to Shohei. Make sure that his approach is sound. Make sure that he's doing the approach of making Shohei get out of his own approach and swing at some bad pitches. If it's go right at him, then maybe I'm going to say, okay, I'd rather have you go to the Mookie at bat. But again, I'm not part of any of those conversations. But this was a big decision in the game. If they throw up a 0 there, good chance the Phillies hold on and win nothing and win the game 1-0. So it was definitely something to admire for sure, and to look at and to try to figure out what to do here. And these are the toughest choices when you're a manager. You've got a matchup that's staring you in the face. The projected numbers are definitely in favor of Duran versus Mookie. Maybe not as much for Shohei. Then you got to watch what's happening in real moment. What are Shohei's swings like? Yes, they were all versus lefty sinkers, sinker, and it's a totally different approach than Duran has. But you're trying to weigh all this in the moment. Ultimately, it didn't work out. They still were in a position to win if they could have just scratched one more run across. But then that's where Roki Sasaki comes in. So now we'll go and we'll head over to Roki, who simply put 9 up, 9 down in the most leverage you could ever pitch in, which is a tie game at the end of a game. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Now let's see what we have in my chat about this a little bit. I saw a comment about Shohei being bad in the series for the simple fact that all he has faced is low slot lefties and dominant lefty arms. The Phillies don't want to give him anything. Yeah, I mean, no matter what, I think we've seen what Shohei can do. So that's always looming in the back of your mind. He seems to have a flair for the dramatic. You know, they didn't want to get beat by Mookie. They must have just decided that beforehand, and that's ultimately what went into the decision. But this is like one of those, you know, rock and hard place decisions. And this is why it's so important to stack 2 great players back to back. Judge and Soto was such a dynamic combination like this. I think back to 2017 Diamondbacks, Goldschmidt, JD Martinez, when they were fully locked in. So it's the same effect here. You got a 3-headed monster with this team. in Shohei, Mookie, Freddie, but it makes these decisions really, really, really done. Really, really tough. Really, really tough. What was Duran's walk rate in Mookie's ERA as compared to Ohtani? I wonder if the math even makes sense. So there's definitely like some projections here based on Duran stuff that they're going off of versus Mookie's swing path. Maybe there was some matchups earlier between these two, and so maybe they're going about that a little bit. But yeah, there's a lot of questions about why this ended up happening. Bottom line, it does happen. Maybe we'll dig in a little bit to the numbers here after this, but I want to get into Roki Sasaki. He ends up throwing 36 pitches, but I think we should watch all of them because it's key to learn about the adjustments he's made. And the biggest thing is mechanical adjustments that have allowed him to get into the strike zone more. Roki runs an 80% fastball zone rate in this outing, setting himself up for huge success with his splitter, which is really the pitch he wants you to swing at. All right, so here's his first batter. It's Kyle Schwarber. Mind you, it's the 8th inning in the NLDS here, and he's facing the Phillies, arguably one of the best lineups in baseball, and he just goes through them 9 up, 9 down. Schwarber fly ball, even though that's right down the middle. Roki's fastball plays a little bit differently. Ohtani's intentional walk added about 2% win probability for LA, so there's a number right there. That's interesting. 2% doesn't seem significant, but this game was decided on a razor-thin margin. There's a split down, and you can see the tumbling action on this thing. I mean, it's only 643 RPM, which is what makes this so special. It's a power forkball. Most people's forkballs, this is a forkball. Don't get it twisted. This is no splitter. Most forkballs, pitches with this low spin, that's how I'm going to start designated forkball from now on. If you're under 800 RPM, it's forkball. Anyway, they're not 87.8. They're usually like 82, 83, or even slower. So this is a power forkball. Incredible. And he's getting just all sorts of random movement on it. Sometimes it's cutting, sometimes it's running, but it's always heavily dropping. And it's just a weird pitch visually for a hitter. You can see here, Smith can't even corral that one. Look at the action on this thing. It's like kind of like plays like a knuckleball at times. This is a -7 vert, so that's like it's dropping like a 12-6 curveball, except it's coming out like a fastball. Very weird pitch. But he wasn't afraid to go to it and go to it often in this game, and it is his outlier pitch in my opinion. Yes, he throws hard. Yes, it's a great fastball, but pretty much nobody has this pitch. You know, you can look at like a Cade Smith. You can look at a little bit of Kodai Senga's Ghost Fork in it. But for the most part, this is a unique pitch. The speed with the low spin rate combination, very hard to pull off. So 2 pop outs there, and Alec Boehm, it's a one pitch out. Edman little push throw over to first, and it's 3 up, 3 down as he gets started. Okay, so Fernando Cruz is another one, although he has a little bit different action, but good comment there. Okay. Now, while we watch Roki, I'm going to think about this third pitch situation. So if they do want him to start, the biggest thing is the splitter, or the forkball, I should say, is really designed to be a chase pitch. Yes, he does throw some in the zone. He actually tried to do that this game, which impressed me a lot, actually, as he destroys Marsh inside with a fastball. However, you know, similar to Trey Savage and other guys that I break down that have incredible chase rate on their split and a ton of drop on their split, like this one is diabolical. Did you see this pitch? I don't know how you make a swing decision at all on something like that. Man, and in real time, it looks even better. So yeah, so the question is, what does he need to add as a second pitch he can throw over the plate, right? I think off the top of my head, it's either having the 2 types of fastballs, so also having a sinker to go with his 4-seam. I think a cutter is a little dangerous for him because you don't want to lose the action he gets on his 4-seam. So maybe you're looking for a slider or a sweeper of some sort. I do think he'll come up with something that he can throw that moves away from a righty. But interestingly enough, and I think, you know, big credit to the Dodgers for doing this. They didn't necessarily panic about his pitch mix when he struggled early. They mostly panicked about his mechanics and that we just got to get him in line throwing strikes. Whatever they did, whatever deep dive they did, and I know Jeff Passan wrote a great article on this that I still haven't read yet. I've just heard about it. Whatever they did to get him back in line and throwing strikes made all the difference, because all this guy needs to do is get ahead in the count. Very similar to Aroldis Chapman, what I've been talking about all year. But when you have a pitch like this one, I mean, guys are going to have a really hard time squaring it up, and it slows them down so much, and then the fastball just plays crazy. 100 by you. So again, you're looking for more options to get ahead in the count, more contact pitch options. So probably something that goes left would be nice, but I think the easy low-hanging fruit would be to add a sinker. Then you could have two fastballs hovering around 100 miles an hour along with this super interesting forkball pitch. So that's off the top of my head. Anyway, there's a strikeout, and then this is Max Kepler who he gets out. This is Max Kepler who he gets out to end the ninth inning here as 6 up, 6 down. There's also a suggestion here in the chat about a curveball, and I could see that actually a little bit too, Alex, mainly because the splitter is so hard, right? And I often talk about operating in 3 different speed bands. You want to have fast, medium, and 2 speeds down or slow. He doesn't have anything 2 speeds down. His 88, 89 mile an hour forkball is pretty fast. So you're talking upper 90s, upper 80s. It would be nice for him to have something in the low 80s or high 70s, just so he can operate on 3 different speed levels and really make it that much harder to hit his fastball. But it's already hard to hit his fastball. This is another fastball that's popped up here by Kepler, and it's 6 up, 6 down. I do think that's a possibility, though. I like that suggestion. It'd be interesting to see if maybe that's an option. Also, he does throw from a fairly high slot, so that could make sense, too. A lot of options these days, because it feels like you can just sort of add a pitch, remove a pitch to anybody now. So it's funny that we talk the way that we talk now, because it is true. You can kind of do it however you want. You can create a pitcher on the fly. Fastball down and away, just missed. But even this, like, he's so funneled over the zone now. His misses are small. Like, his scatter plot is a lot different than it was before. Like, even that's competitive. It's a ball, but it's competitive, and it's 100, where he was throwing like probably like 95, 96 when he first started off this year. So the mechanical piece of it, I think, was the biggest thing. And then they just, obviously, once that came, I feel like the mentality got a lot better. He looked a little bit like a deer in the headlights at the beginning of the season, and now he's pitching in the biggest moments. And you can see Castellanos' reaction to this forkball. He said something like nasty or something. Well, if some's good, more is better. Still not sure how we even fouled this off. You can see the action and the trouble that this pitch presents. God damn. Really, really good. It's unbelievable how Castellanos can stay on a fastball even when he's slowed down so much. He's not on it enough to hit this one, but the fact that he fouls it is actually impressive, as we saw Real Muto get blown away in a similar circumstance. And then Roki's going to get him with this split. Another one that just drops off the dang table. Nice play and throw by Muncy. 1 out in the 10th, and then Stott's going to punch out on 6 pitches. These forkball splitter things are absurdly nasty. So, I mean, this one's 462 RPM. Like, that is literally, if we pulled up this when, like, a knuckleballer was pitching, this is, like, kind of the spin rates you'd see. You might see it lower because they're trying to get 0, but it's very hard to put less spin on it than 462 RPMs. Almost impossible. 462? Negative 8.3? I know this is a ball, but this is an alien pitch on the pitch data. It's pretty cool. I wonder if he trained his whole life just like walking around with his fingers just like forked around the ball, you know? You can see though that the split is a tough pitch to land for strikes. Like, it's got a little bit of a mind of its own. And it slips out of your hands is what happens. So because it's a slip pitch, very hard to command it. That's why I do think third pitch will be important. There was a question in the chat about a changeup. Why not a sweeper or a changeup? I think a sweeper could be potentially possible. We've seen guys with high slots get the sweeper as he punches out Stott there. Changeup just seems kind of redundant, and that wouldn't be the next move. That would be like pitch number 6 or 7. There's only a few pitchers that I can think of that effectively toggled both a fork or split and a changeup in the same arsenal. Tyler Clippard comes to mind. He was one of the best. And actually, Paul Skeens comes to mind now. Splinker and changeup, but he knows how to kind of use them. But again, that's like several levels up from now. Right now, we're just trying to funnel this guy in the zone as much as possible so he can make that forkball work in that 100 play late. And then the last batter he faces is Trey Turner. So 9 up, 9 down. Here's some interesting information on RPM from Nick Kowal. I think Dickey during a Cy Young campaign averaged between 275 and 350 RPM. Incredibly low, and that's a knuckleball who won the Cy Young. This is only 100 RPM higher than that. That's not a lot when the typical four-seam fastball is like 2200, 2300. Here's a sinker. So is this is the first attempt at a sinker? You can see not very comfortable with that, or he just screwed up, or this is a four-seam that just overcooks, because it looks like he asks for a new ball right away. I think it's a sinker, though, because this is the first time that Will Smith sets up in. And pitching in right on right with a sinker when you are just learning it is very nerve-wracking. You feel like you're going to hit somebody. Roki seems like a nice boy, and then he doesn't want to hurt anybody. And so this is what happens a lot of times. This used to happen with my good friend Chad Green. Happened with a lot of guys. You're about to throw a screaming 98-mile-an-hour heater in, and something about it just makes you pull off at the last second and just kind of get rid of it. But if you watch him, he makes a gesture here to Will. Maybe like, let's not call that anymore or something. Do we get any, maybe that's nothing. I thought it was something, but maybe it's nothing. Anyway, we're still going in this at-bat, and we're at 3-1 count. Now, 3-1 count, walks have not been his friend early in his stateside career, but he bears down here and throws two really nice fastballs on 3-1 and 3-2 with zero fear, full aggression, and gets the line out. So 9 up, 9 down. Kind of the key to this whole game, if we're being honest. Without this contribution, I think the Dodgers probably lose it. The Phillies gave them all they could handle. They went Duran early. Strom had a nice inning. Luzardo looked great. That was my second question was... Meanwhile, this is funny. Meanwhile, Luzardo looked great, and the second question was, why'd they bring in Kerkering? So this is my second thought process last night that I'm wondering whether I agree or not with Rob Thompson. This is another one where the matchup's staring you in the face, and it ends up with let's see how this played out. Yeah, it ends up with a second and third Kike Hernandez versus Kerkering matchup, which I'm sure looks super juicy on paper. Sinker sweeper guys, usually right on right, match up very well with Kike. Luzardo probably didn't match up as well with Kike, considering he's a left-handed hitter, and that's what Kike hits. But I wanted to point something out, and I saw it in the data last night, and I could see that Luzardo was a little pissed off, and he wanted this matchup. But if you look at this really quick, this is Jesus Luzardo's data from last night. Two things jump out first. First of all, the velocity was incredible. So he was up almost 2 miles an hour across the board, sitting 98.2 with his fastball. Also, the sweeper had 8 swings and 5 whiffs. But the thing that really jumped out to me was, okay, it's a righty-lefty matchup. But then let's look at what already happened. This is the pitches thrown in this game to date. 22 versus righties, 8 versus lefties. And yet he looked dominant versus the righties. So to me, I don't necessarily think you had to jump the gun and make the move. I think I would have rather won and lost with Luzardo on the mound the way he looked. Also, he's just a better pitcher than Kerkering. He's a starter. He had a great campaign this year and had to fight through some tipping issues. Kerkering's a good pitcher. He's sort of similar to what I was in my career, but we're not as good as these starters, like especially these lefty starters that are used to facing these righties. So I get they got a little skittish of the Kike matchup, but I don't know. I think I would have hung in there with Luzardo personally, and that was the question that I had a little bit. Maybe what other people thought about this in the chat. Obviously, it leads to just a horrible moment, which we've all seen now. Kerkering now pitching with that open base. This is sort of similar to what Duran didn't get to do when they intentionally walked Shohei. He does get ahead of him in this at-bat. Sinker, sinker. That's probably a strike, but JT doesn't do a very good job of selling it. Sinker, sinker, and then another ball here on a sweeper. It's an interesting matchup because Kike's so dead pull. But right here, he gets the swing on the sweeper. So he gets to the 2-strike situation. He's 1 strike away in the matchup he wants. The interesting thing here is with the open base on first, typically you're going to try to throw a chase pitch for 2 straight pitches here and, force a swing at a bad pitch, otherwise a walk. And that's kind of how it goes. Issue is he doesn't execute very well on either of them. The fastball's a bit too high, quite a bit too high, not competitive, and then the 3-2 sweeper is not competitive either. It really, really yanks the crap out of this one. I think he tried to make it too good. And Kike's gotten better on his 3-2 swing decisions, which of course lead us to the last play of the game, where, it's funny because Kerkering throws 2 really good pitches in this at-bat, and that's what he's thinking about. He's locked in on making pitches. When you're in this moment, of course you have to field your position. That's a big part of the game. But I just want to point out that for what seems extremely fundamental, you are not actually locked in on that right now. You are locked in on making the best pitch you can every time, and you're honestly not expecting a ball back to you. You're just not. You're too consumed with making a good pitch, and he throws a beautiful sinker in first pitch here, which again is risky because if you hit him, the game's over too. So he dots that one, he comes back, he does it again, and of course it leads to, the error heard around the world, where I'm just telling you, he just got brain scrambled. I do think when he looked up right here, he did see him pointing at first, but the arm's already cocked. And he just kind of is like, oh, I don't know what to do. And just lets it sail. And obviously the game's over. But we can see here he did have time. Pajes is on the way to first and would not have been there in time. But anyway, I just wanted to point that out and then give big props to Kerkering. He did a great job talking to the media afterwards, owned it. Stood up really well, took accountability, and it's a hard thing to do. Did you just get hurt?
Yes.
What'd you do?
I hit my elbow in your wall.
Oh my god.
Oh, I was going to tell you how cute you are with your merch.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so Dano says it here. Props to Kerkering for facing the media right after. The people who don't do this are so weak. So weak. So pathetic. Just own it. Just tell the truth. Just tell the truth. I actually used to like to talk about it just to get it out of my system. Yep, I stunk. I take it. We move on. So anyway, I wanted to say that. Okay, let's see what else we got in here. Phillies lost because they couldn't figure out the Dodgers pitching. Yeah, you score 1 run in this many innings. Yeah, that's why you lose the game. It's not all about the play at the end. Of course, it's a horrible feeling that I don't wish on anybody. But they didn't really hit. 1 run's not enough. For Sasaki to be able to come in and go 36 pitches in 3 innings, 9 up, 9 down, kind of broke the Phillies because the Dodgers were starting to run out of pitching. Trinan had been warming up in the pen. There were some people in my chat last night that were like, no. But again, there wasn't too many more guys for Dave to trust. But unfortunately, they didn't cash in. They didn't get the job done. And that's kind of, to me, the bigger story in the game. I thought they played a pretty good game otherwise. They pitched it really well. They fielded it really well. I thought Glasnow was on another level early, so that was a little tough. But yeah, tough end to the year for the Phillies for sure. Ayo, do pitchers need to take more ground ball reps in practice? So this is one of those things where, we do a lot in spring training. Honestly, most of it's sort of eyewash. It just is. For the most part, guys are not really locked in on it. It seems so easy, but there's no way to really recreate what it's like in the game. You just have to have good reactions and good fundamentals, and maybe it helps to have played a different position and not be a robot when you're a kid. So I don't know. Maybe more reps is something you could work on, but there's no guarantee it's going to show up in that moment because, again, you're so locked in on making your pitch, which is your number one priority there. And then we're talking a lot about this matchup here with the lefty-righty thing with Luzardo. We make such a big deal about lefty-righty matchups, but lefties are more sought after and there are more righties in the league. There are. Lefties grow up facing righties, so they naturally develop their games to beat those guys. I think what happens and what happened with me in my life is like I'm a righty and I faced a lot of righties growing up. You don't see a ton of elite left-handed hitters until you get to probably double A. So you're really your whole life it's just a ton of righties and the matchups are kind of cushy for you if you're a righty. And if you're a lefty, you're used to that too because you're seeing them, and that really pays off when you get to the big league level when all these matchups come into play for a lefty. If they happen to get a lefty, great. If they get a righty, they already kind of know how to do it. And on the other side, it doesn't really work for a guy like me where you might get like 8 righties. Are you okay?
I'm okay. I'm gonna go get the kids.
Okay, so again, like that's just one of those issues, I think, and why lefties are actually more well prepared for the current big league situation. All right, what else we got? Also, his first career error at professional baseball, so not something that he was used to doing, but it just kind of sucks. Yeah, Grinside, she smoked her elbow into my wall. I don't know what was going on there. A little clumsy action from the old lady. Anyway, it's painful, but he'll bounce back. I think he'll bounce back. Curious how if he stays in Philly or whatever, because that can be toxic. But I think he's been a good pitcher for them overall. So, anyway. Am I cold-blooded, chat? I'm sorry. Yeah, see, like McLean is a shortstop, so he was like an infielder growing up. So you watch him; he's unbelievable. You know, I heard Greg Maddux talking about fielding his position recently too. You know, he grew up kind of wanting the plays. He wanted to make 100 plays a year. That's a big mentality shift from most pitchers who are just thinking about making good pitches. So it's just interesting when you can do as much of that as possible. All right, here we go. What was the worst moment in my career? Jeez. Worst moment? I don't know. I had a couple tough ones. The 2019 playoff series versus the Astros when I was with the Yankees, you know, giving up the home run to Springer. Although in the moment I didn't think it was going to kill us. They ended up beating us in like 13 innings or something that night, 11 innings or something, like 2-1. So I didn't think the one run was going to kill us. That did end up being kind of crappy. And then later in that series, I pitched a crappy inning in the 4th inning, got booed off the field. That didn't feel great as we were about to be eliminated. Also, gave up a big home run to Kyle Tucker in the playoffs 2021 for the Red Sox. After I warmed up 6 different times in that game and had pitched in every game in that series. Got clipped into the Crawford boxes. That didn't feel very good. But I don't know. I don't know about worst moment. There's some regular season stuff in there too, I guess. It's bad. It's bad one time. It's bad one time. Like it hurts really bad the one time, and then it's like it can't hurt you anymore. Like you're just kind of used to it, and you're able to get through it. I think the fear of getting booed is worse than actually getting booed. And after you get through it once, you're usually pretty good. Okay, so if that's about it for Dodgers Cubs, I really want to go investigate Brewers. I mean Dodgers Phillies. I want to investigate Brewers Cubs right now because they did a hell of a job. They got out to the 3-0 lead on the home run by Happ, which I watched last night. But I want to watch a little bit of Boyd because Boyd stepped up huge, 4 2/3, 6 punch outs in this game. Big time stuff. In a bounce back performance where he didn't make it out of the first inning in game 1. So I love that. A guy coming back out and saying, just because I struggled at the beginning doesn't mean I'm going to keep struggling. I can turn this thing around. Here are some of his outs early in this game. Gets a Chorio strikeout here. 95.5. That's an extremely high velo number for Boyd too. So he was pumped up, and he definitely was able to access some serious ability in this game.
And a high chop to short. Swanson
little ground ball.
Flips to get one. On to first to try and turn 2, but Contreras beat.
This is a shame for me to hear, and I've been sensing that for a while. I've even played with a lot of younger pitchers the last few years that were POs, pitcher onlys. And, you know, it's just funny looking back because I was like a pretty good player all around. But even with me, like people were trying to make me a PO. in high school because they were just like, why are you wasting your time hitting? But it's like they don't realize how that stuff translates onto the mound, you know? But I think that we're starting to understand it a little more. And I think about a lot, like in terms of having to develop my kid as an athlete, like you got to be doing a bunch of different stuff. I'm a big fan of gymnastics, a big fan of all sorts of things that give you agility, whether that be, you know, soccer or lacrosse or swimming is a unique move, or ice skating is a unique move. Lots of different things you can do. So anyway, pop up there, Vaughn with a walk. So he did also pitch around some guys with walks. He didn't give in the power situations, which was interesting. But he was able to make really big pitches when he needed to. And he gave them a lot more length than they maybe expected, but also what they really needed. Because I noted coming into this game, they were in big trouble in their bullpen in terms of workloads. All their main trusted dudes had pitched a ton the day before, and they needed them again today. Luckily, it wasn't as many outs to cover. Here's a Frelick ground out. Left on left changeup. I love that. Also, letting that Cubs defense play. They have an outstanding defense behind him. I think that was a big thing that he benefited from this year. And it played out a little bit in this one with some pretty good infield defense. That's a can of corn. So, keeping him at bay here. Here's a Joey Ortiz. We'll watch this whole at-bat. 3-pitch strikeout. I can't imagine me hitting nukes at the plate. I mean, my swing deteriorated pretty fast with no practice, but I'm a big dude. I'm 6'5", 240, 250 at times while I was pitching. And in BP at Coors, I used to go second deck all the time from the left side. My issue was I think I would have been one of these big galoots who was slow and had terrible strike zone judgment. That's what I think would have been my problem. Hold on.
My car keys.
What?
My car keys.
I don't have your car keys. Remember you took them when we went into Snackery or something?
Yeah.
Oh no. Come on, man.
No, I'll find them.
All right, I'll find them.
No, I'll find them.
You want me to come?
No.
They gotta be in the front. Oh, check the other table. Ay. So yeah, I used to have pop, but it's like I don't think I would have been a good hitter. Yeah, I used to do this on my own in spring training. Take grounders at short. That's a nice little breaking ball. I have noticed that Boyd has been dropping down a little bit on his slider a little more. You look at the release point here, and then I want to see a release point on a fastball. There's no way they're the same. I'll tell you that right now. Yeah, there's no way. Look at that. He's here on the fastball. Where's the photos? So this is fastball. This is slider. Fastball, slider. Fastball, slider. I thought he was only doing the drop down thing on the slider a little bit, but he's definitely doing it a lot. Anyway, this was a good pitch. Gets it below the zone for the chase. Joey Ortiz waving. Christian Yelich. They end up throwing a shutout in this game. We all know that the Brewers are awfully pesky. Really tough. Really tough. But that's why Boyd going deep was a big deal. Kind of set those guys up for better success later. All right, second time through the order. Chourio gets a hit.
They have found ways to string together hits, move guys over. Chourio with a bouncing ball up the middle. And he has a 2-out hit. And that's part of the reason for...
This is a good question. And in response to this question up here from Daniel Brown, I saw Marlins in spring training pitch. I used to do this on my own just for athleticism. Like I would just go out there and have a coach hit me ground balls. I did this especially when I was older in my career, just because the winter, you know, you're training and you're trying to do a lot of movement, but you got to get used to that agility in the cleats and the way you feel and stuff. So I definitely wanted to be out there taking grounders. I felt like it made me more athletic and more accurate with my PFP throws. Because again, PFPs are a little bit eyewash, so I want to do my own thing a little bit. Can hitters pick up a release point difference that drastic? I feel like guys are all over the place. You'd think they could cue on that. Especially if you only throw one pitch type from the other type of arm angle. Like when he goes low, it seems to me like he's pretty much only throwing sliders. So to me, if I saw that, I would be anticipating slider out of the hand as soon as I saw him drop down. But a big key is how late you do it. So like Boyd comes into his delivery here. It's pretty late if he all of a sudden now tilts over and throws a sweeper. But if he does it early where he leans extra early, then the hitter can see it even better. So a lot of it is the timing of when he drops into the sidearm versus the over the top. I think that's a big key here. And this is a nice fastball that he locates really well in and ties up Contreras with. So some really good pitching inside in this game. And hold on, did we just see Boyd with a little fist pump? Wow, I don't know what that was. That was the slowest pitching motion I've ever seen. Yeah, he was juiced. All right, 4th inning. He's going to get Terang with a slider. Let's see how low he is on this one. I don't think he looked as low. Yeah, he's still pretty low. Nice pitch. Really, really good pitch there. Andrew Vaughn, going to get him to pop up.
Andrew Vaughn, the batter. And he pops this up off the hands. Bush. Got it.
Yeah, I'd say so, grin aside. That's about, you know, I know Sale and Sean were way down around 10 degrees-ish. I bet you that's about 10 degrees. And you can see even on this 4-seam, he's so much higher on the 4-seam. But he's getting good carry on it. He's getting it inside on these righties, and he's popping them up. You see how lefties are used to facing these righties. They're all very good at pitching in on righties. A lot of righties are not good at pitching in on lefties. So I think that's just a little bit about the conversation earlier about how you grow up, kind of, you know, learning how to handle one side or the other. Because you face them more often. Here's Chad Durbin's going to get called out on strikes. This app does not have release height, unfortunately. I can get it. I can get their average release heights on Savant, but pitch by pitch, no. I'd have to use another site, and I don't have an account anymore for like True Media or anything like that, so it's fine. All right, now 5th inning. He gets in a little bit of trouble here, but they work out of it. Frelick, this was a huge inning in this game. This was the Brewers' best shot, in my opinion. They were still down 3. They get leadoff action with this weird Frelick double.
This will kick off the wall. Suzuki has an arm.
Great hustle by Sal there. He's a dynamic player. Then a Perkins walk. So now you got 2 on, nobody out. Up 3 in the 5th.
That's a 5-pitch walk to Perkins.
A lot of times he'd be out of the game right here. Counsell sticks with him for the next 2 batters. Joey Ortiz with a sac bunt. Perfect sac bunt, makes the third baseman field it. That's what you want to do on that play. You want to make the third baseman come get it because there's nobody covering third then, and there's no way of getting the lead runner. So very nice execution on the bunt there by Joey Ortiz, and a nice little play by Matt Shaw, I believe, at third. And it gets us to the 2nd and 3rd situation where he matches up with Yelich. This was his biggest at-bat of the game. And he ends up really bearing down here versus Christian Yelich, who's an incredible contact hitter in these spots. Gets bailed out there with the fastball up in, though. I will say that set the tone for this at-bat. That is not, that's not ideal for Christian. 0-1. Another sinker coming here. And the left-on-left sinker, I've seen so much more of it this year. We saw a lot of it yesterday with Sanchez. It's all the all the Dodger lefties. And Boyd utilizing it right here. Skubal does it really well. He's going to be on the bump tonight. So 0-2 count, and now he can go to work. Left-on-left changeup. Seen a lot of this as well. Haven't seen a lot of that in years past. That's a good take and a good pitch. He's going to go ahead and double up. Oh, even better take, even better pitch. I mean, man, that's a tough pitch to take. The height on this one is pretty competitive the whole way through. Doesn't get the trigger. Ooh, we got data. I love it. And then sinker in, gets him swinging. And this is just a great pitch. This is a chase sinker in off the plate. Again, not a lot of this has been done the last few years. This is an outstanding freaking pitch. And the biggest out of Boyd's night, because then that means Counsell can then go make the move. He brings in Palencia. He gets Choreo. First pitch pop up on 100. This is a repeat of the 3-run home run matchup from the other night. This time Palencia wins it. Fastball riding in on him. Choreo pops it up. Brewers would never really threaten again after that. The Cubs bullpen took over and did their thing. We got a couple vets over here fired up. Well, maybe JT's not fired up, but he's approving of what he's seeing. Boyd, though, Boyd yelling a little bit. He's got some juice. And Palencia, obviously, very fired up as well. All right, hold on. What do we got in the chat as we keep going? Here's the information. Baseball Savant, 4-seam and changeup 5-5, slider 5, curveball 5-8. So he's climbing. So I don't think the 5-8 off of the 5-5 is very easy to see on the curveball climb. I do think 5 feet flat, so you're talking 5 inches lower, is a little different than, actually it's 0.5, so it's really 6 inches lower, is a much bigger difference than the 3. I feel like maybe you could see the drop down more, especially if he's only throwing a slider out of there. But again, it's hard in the moment, and this is something that the old heads would always talk about, like don't change your arm slot or whatever. They can pick that up. But when you talk to hitters, that a lot of times they say it's too fast for them to really see it. It's more if you do a body tip and let it know that you're about to drop into that new slot a little bit too early. So that's how it goes. What is the name of the program you used to watch each pitch? A lot of people have been asking me about this all the time in the comments. It's the MLB Dugout app. It's a private app. This is the app that they use in the dugout during the games in the bullpen to review their at-bats and stuff like that. I was lucky enough for MLB to bless me with this tool so I could run this podcast, run this live stream, and it's been awesome. But it is private, so just wanted to throw that out there. Is there a pen in the playoffs that doesn't have 100 to call on? No. Now, this team only has the one. They have Palencia. Palencia is kind of their guy, just pumping 100. But then after that, they go with, the guys that really stepped up big for them this year. Pomeranz with three up, 3 down. He just comes in, works fast, and dominates. Strikeout there, probably generous. Perkins on the knuckle curve, and he's got the weird knuckle curve that he flicks out with the pointer finger. See ya. That's why it's got good drop, negative 14.7, despite having low spin rate, 24.04, very low for a curveball. But Pomeranz throws a weird grip where he kind of flicks it out, creating an early topspin effect out of the hand. It's hard to see here, but since I play with him, I could kind of tell you. Tell you how he does it because I've seen it. It's a weird grip. I'm doing it from the right side where he kind of like pushes the ball into a top spin this way with this pointer finger. So very oddly done, but it creates good drop, and that's one of his tricks. Nice curveball there. And then he's going to get Joey Ortiz. So a 3 up, 3 down from Pomeranz. He's been incredible. The guy didn't even pitch in the big leagues for like 4 years because of injuries and stuff like that. Comes back this year and is absolutely dominant, not only regular season, but also in the postseason. Keller, who threw a crap load of pitches the other day, does what he does. Loses the zone a little bit, but then gets really nice contact results. 3-1 to Chourio. Gets the fly out. Gets him off the barrel just enough. The boys in there in this Brewers bullpen inside the little wall here. There's a whole room in there. That's where the pen is. It's actually kind of a good setup, especially in the cold weather. They're sitting there like, come on, ball, come on, ball, come on, ball. Doesn't make it. So they're a little bummed. And then he goes ahead and gets his signature thing, which is a ground ball and a double play.
Contreras bouncing ball up the middle. Swanson the flip for 1. On to first. It's a double
Nasty.
play.
And then Thielbar, so they flip it around because of the matchups. Thielbar comes in and he ends up getting the last few outs of this game. So all the same dudes pitched back-to-back days. That's what it required for the Cubs, but I think it was nice that they had breathing room today and they were able to kind of line them up the way they wanted. The Ian Happ home run, which I'll show right here, which is a pretty cool at-bat, really set the tone in this game and gave them the breathing room that they needed. So I give the big MVPs of this game to Happ, of course, and definitely Matt Boyd. What they did at the front end of this game made all the difference. So he spits on a changeup down and another changeup down. Just dead red set on getting a fastball up in the zone. Even though that pitch is a ball, he doesn't change his approach, and he's super on time for this fastball, and this was the swing of the night. Just destroyed to right. And Happ had been really scuffling against Peralta all time, too. So now the question is, Cubs got the momentum. You know that those Cubs fans are buying up those tickets in Milwaukee like crazy on StubHub. It's going to be a zoo in that game tomorrow night. Who wins Game 5? It's going to be a phenomenal matchup. I think we're going to see a little Imanaga. He's been scuffling. I definitely think you're going to see some Mizorowski in this game. There's going to probably be a lot of pitching matchups. It's a great managerial showdown between Pat Murphy and Craig Counsell. And I really think we're going to enjoy this one. Big time. It's going to be a really good Game 5. I'm really juiced for this one. All right, let's get in the chat for a sec. Can you tell what pitch the hitter wants? So we have a lot of data that guys look at and also just watch videos and also just, database of watching guys play that you do kind of understand what guys hit. sometimes new guys are, hard to figure out. You have to try to figure out their swing at the beginning and get a more of a sample size. But you do figure out, pretty quickly what the hitter's strengths are. And then for the most part, I would say you just pitch to your strengths always. But if you are aware of what the hitters can do, then you can pivot when necessary. And oftentimes teams will present this stuff with heat maps. Usually they show where the slugging percentage comes from, where the whiff comes from, where the chase comes from. They even recommend pitches. But overall, for me, I like to pitch. I like to have each pitcher that, at least that I coach up, or the way I think about it, you want to have a plan versus righties, a plan versus lefties, and then you want to have two counters off of that. And you have to basically, my opinion, you want to have your game plan kind of set up in a way where you can read the at bat each and every time and stick and move and always stay one step ahead. Oftentimes they don't really teach that. They just kind of teach throw your best pitches over the plate, and we'll try to get you in the right matchups. But yeah, you can kind of tell what the hitter wants sometimes, and not always. This is why I think sitting on one pitch and one pitch only as a hitter is an extremely good approach at times and very dangerous, because if I'm trying to think along with you as a batter and you're not thinking at all, you're just waiting for that one juicy cookie, you're likely to crush it, and I'm likely to walk into it if I read the situation wrong. So that's how a hitter can kind of combat that. So it's funny here. Keller, Pomeranz, and Palencia are the best arms out of the Cubs pen. Neither had a guaranteed major league spot in spring training. So I also was in talks with the Cubs. I talked with their AGM, Jared Banner, who's actually a guy I played against growing up in Brooklyn. And, one of my concerns with signing with the Cubs this year in spring training was I just felt like they had an awful lot of guys with big league time that were younger. They really didn't have a lot of spots to go around. But, they're kind of marketing themselves on, the Cubs are a great place to play, Wrigley Field, we have a good team. So they weren't guaranteeing people anything, but they're still an attractive place to land. And if you looked at the roster, you knew that there was going to be some struggles there, and some guys were going to get opportunities. And these are the guys that ended up taking that chance. They went to AAA, some of them early on in the year, and they came out on the other side. There's no Presley there anymore. There's no Brazier there anymore. There's a whole list of guys. I haven't seen Assad poke his head out in a while. But yeah, Palencia, who was like kind of, I'd say, on the fringe of the roster last year in a way, despite his velocity. Pomeranz, who was nowhere to be found. Keller, who they got, I believe, off the scrap heap. And then Thielbar, they did sign in kind of a savvy move. But yeah, they were kind of, it's worked out for them. This time they went with that David Stearns, let's get a million guys approach and see who pops. And they were able to get a few to pop. Doesn't always work, but they were able to make that happen this year. What's my favorite pitch right now by a pitcher, such as a Mason Miller slider or Skubal changeup? I'm going to say right now, Roki Sasaki forkball splitter thing. Just because it's so unique, such low RPM. I'm enamored with it. I love to watch it. I love to see how it works. I think it's fascinating that it has a little bit of a mind of its own. I kind of like the unpredictable nature of it. So that's my answer at the moment. Even with data, you can read the swing to find out what they want from you and just play that to your advantage. Yes, and this is a big part of the game that really matters. One thing that really matters is learning the game in this way. Again, you need to have reps, and this is why even for relief prospects, I like for them to spend some time starting, but just because they get more reps facing batters and they start to understand a little bit more about hitters' expectations and subverting those. Because that happens a lot when you face a guy a second or a third time in a game. You have a little bit of history that's immediate history. It just happened, and you have to kind of play off of that. And to me, that's a lot of what the big league game is about, more so than just blindly throwing at heat maps all the time. No. Most of the time, they just want to spoon feed it and keep the players dumb, in my opinion. Just follow the plan. Our projection will win out. Don't agree with that, but I think. But I think that. What's this question? What specific pitch do you need to develop more effectively, and how are players working on it? I don't know what this question is, JJ. Holly, everybody's trying to get better all the time and get better. So they learn how to throw a new pitch, they trial and error it until they figure out the grip, and then they figure out how to implement it and how to execute it and how to get comfortable with it. Gotta assume catchers develop an eye for reading swings. And this is true, except they have a little bit of a different vantage point. They also have to focus in the moment on catching the ball. So sometimes I feel like their reads are really good and the best guys are amazing, but not all of them are great at this. And I also think that they're the ones who get yelled at more than the pitchers for when they deviate off of the plan. Okay, great. So yeah, so some catchers are great at this. Some they just end up calling what the pre-planned pitches were for every guy and just calling guys strengths only and never pay attention because they don't want to get yelled at by the coaches. So anyway, it's interesting how that goes. How do you approach pitching in the first inning? What adjustments do you make to your pitch selection and execution? So typically a starter would already kind of pre-plan how he wants to attack the first time through the order. And then usually it's based on strengths, unless a hitter has such a good, you're so worried about a hitter or something that you're going to go off script early. For the most part, you would just go right at them, and then you see how they hit you, and you adjust off of that. I think a mistake that people make a little bit, because this is how it used to be taught. Some guys get in the habit of throwing all fastballs at the beginning of the game. You know, with that old adage, get through the lineup one time with your fastball, then implement your other pitches. But I think sometimes you got to pivot off that really quick. If the team's onto you and they're onto your fastball approach, you got to go right to the whole arsenal right away and get as many zeros as you can, and you'll figure it out later as you go. I think that was that's an idealistic situation, but that's not the way the game always plays out. This is just a joke. I'm sure some guys go to Cancun, some guys go to other places, but yes, there are a lot of vacations taken right after the season. Guys just need to get away from it. They've been in it. The families have been in it. They want to reconnect and go have a good time. All right, we got a lot of good stuff in the chat there. That was the look at the Cubs and the Brewers, and now let's go see what we got in our notes from our beautiful researchers. From our beautiful researchers over at MLB Network, and we'll help get ourselves prepared with some of the stuff that they have on here. Oh, this is not it. 10-10. Here we go. All right, few memorable moments on this date. Braves shut out the Yankees Game 7 of the 1957 World Series, giving Milwaukee its only World Series title to date. This is before my time. I didn't even know Milwaukee had a World Series title. Mickey Lolich, complete game, outdueled Bob Gibson, complete game to win Game 7 of the 68 World Series. So this was an incredible performance. If you guys don't know a lot about baseball history, Mickey Lolich had a ridiculous year in 68. Actually got 3 wins in this World Series and was the World Series MVP. He was 3-0, 1.67 ERA in the World Series, and he really threw like just a stupid amount of pitches too. In this, so that's something that you wouldn't see very often anymore. Probably the last closest example would be Mad Bum, but Lolich took this over. And the Brewers won their only pennant in franchise history with a 4-3 win over the Angels in Game 5 of the 82 ALCS. So that's what they're trying to do again. They're trying to win this series against the Cubs and then get their second pennant ever when they inevitably play the Dodgers if they were to win. In case you're wondering, 11 series of at least 5 games in postseason history have concluded with the home team winning each contest. 2025 NLDS would become the 12th with the Brewers' victory on Saturday. So the home team's won every time. So no team has won a Game 5 on the road in this. That's very interesting. And this is kind of how we knew how the Cubs were going to have to score. 68.2% of their runs have occurred via homer. A little bit of notes on the Phillies Dodgers here. Gut-wrenching ending was the second postseason series to end on an error. The other was Rougned Odor in 2016 ALDS. I don't really remember that. Dodgers have won 15 of their last 19 postseason games. That's pretty damn good. And that all started when they were down 2-1 versus the Padres last season. Outside of the 5-run eighth on Wednesday, the Phillies scored just 10 runs in the other 37 innings of the NLDS. So that's really the number that they have to be kicking themselves over. Wheeler was the one missing, and he's a pitcher. They had their full lineup for the most part. I know Bader was a little banged up, but to hit 199, 297, 331, and only getting 12 runs in their 6 losses, that's probably where you should point the finger if you're looking to point the finger somewhere at the Phillies. The Dodgers-Phillies series featured 2 games where the starting pitchers didn't allow a run through the first 6 innings. It was Snell and Luzardo and Sanchez and Glasnow. That's only happened one other time. 97 ALCS, Musina, Hershiser. Wow, and Musina, Nagy. Wow, so Musina twice. What a stud. What a freaking stud. The big moose, Mike Musina. Mookie Betts' game-tying bases-loaded walk in the 7th inning on Tuesday was Yohan Duran's first career walk with the bases loaded, 24 chances. In the regular season, he walked just one of 81 batters faced after he was acquired by the Phillies. So this is his second walk in like 100 batters faced since he's been a Philly. And he had never walked anybody with the bases loaded. So that strengthens the argument to walk him there because he wasn't as likely to do it based on this stuff. But still. Oh, I don't know. Maybe I read this wrong. Sorry, GG Gyro. The tables are better in the second version. This is the early version, so it's a little rough around the edges, but I kind of like it because my show's a little rough around the edges. You know what I'm saying? Lolich threw a slider before it was known as a slider. What an advantage that is. You're throwing a pitch that hasn't been invented yet. I love that. Oof. Tough day for Philly. NHL team lose, NFL team loses, and MLB team loses and eliminated all in the same day. So anyway, I mean, I'm not a big fan of those other sports that much. So that's brutal. Very Philly. Tough day for Philly yesterday. All right, so far the Dodgers and the Jays have punched their ticket to the CS, and we're going to find out in some awesome Game 5s. The first one is tonight, Detroit and Seattle. Unbelievable matchup in this one. Skubal Kirby at 8:08 tonight. So a pretty late start. I'm not going to do Baseball After Dark tonight. I'm not going to do Baseball and Coffee tomorrow morning. There will be a Baseball After Dark tomorrow night, Saturday night, where I'll recap everything that happens in this Game 5. Also, we'll be live during that next Game 5. But either way, we'll have it all here a little bit over time. All right, Tigers, Mariners notes headed into tonight. Huge game. Skubal, George Kirby. These are two of my favorite pitchers. I've been a fan of George Kirby from Jump Street. Obviously, he's from my area. I freaking love this guy. His strike throwing ability is amazing. Afternoon all from a UK baseball fan from the MLB chat. Welcome. But obviously, Skubal, I think, is the best starter in the game still at this moment. Overall, over the last 2 years, got to give it to him. And this is going to be an awesome matchup. In the best of 5 postseason series, teams that have trailed 2-1 before avoiding elimination in Game 4, as Detroit just did, have gone on to win Game 5 58% of the time. So history favors Detroit in this game a little bit, even though it's in Seattle. Detroit's bats woke up in Game 4. That was the thing that I didn't expect. I did not expect their bats to wake up at all, but Wednesday they hit 3 home runs. So that was big. Detroit's position players selected to the All-Star game took the charge in Game 4. Glaber, Riley Green, McKinstry, I don't know why Riley Green's here twice, but 8 for 15, 3 home runs, 7 RBIs. Torkelson's got a double in each game. Detroit needs one more win for its first CS appearance since Jim Leyland managed the team in 2013. The M's have trailed at the end of just 6 of 38 innings this series. They've held the lead in each game, and yet their season is on the line anyway, facing the Cy Young winner. I think the Mariners had a huge advantage going into the series, especially on the mound. And the fact that we're tied up here shows the grit and actually the really good managing by AJ Hinch. He's gotten a lot out of some of their bullpen guys that I didn't really expect. And the lineup has bounced back. They had a really good approach late in that game. Skubal is starting the deciding ALDS Game 5 for a second straight year. And in 2024, he held Cleveland to 2 hits through the first 4 innings before allowing 5 runs in the 5th, which was that Lane Thomas grand slam in the eventual loss. Skubal allowed 2 runs, both solo homers by Jorge Polanco in Game 2. So that's what I think we should do right now. Let's see how these guys gave up some runs a little bit. I'll quickly look at the bullpen numbers here. Seattle's bullpen has allowed 10 runs in 6 2/3, cost the last 2 games. Lefty gave Spire allowed 2 runs. So I do feel like they're a little overexposed too. Spire, Bizzardo, Munoz not really, but they don't have a ton of bridge guys besides Brash and Munoz that they really, really trust. So it's kind of imperative that Kirby gives them a little bit more tonight. I also think there's a possibility that, and it says here, Castillo could also relieve. So that adds one more little element to this, the possibility of Castillo coming in. Sorry, guys. And he threw extremely well in his start in this series. Cal Raleigh hitting .438, 7 for 16 with 4 RBIs in this series. All other Mariner players combined have hit .190 with 10 RBIs. So they need somebody else to step up in this game. Needless to say, whoever plays the best 9 innings in this one will win it. But I want to go look a little bit at the matchup that happened before in this series. We've got Detroit and Seattle. And it's the same matchup from Game 1, right? George Kirby And no, Skubal did not start this game, but George Kirby did. So how did Kirby give up his runs in this game? He started out mowing them down. And then there was a Kerry Carpenter home run. Ah, that's right. We've watched this now. This will be the third watch through of this. This will be interesting to see. He insisted on throwing a lot of sinkers right on left. And a lot of them high in the zone. I would like to see him, when he's doing this, and he gets swing action, or he senses swing action is coming, I would like to see him switch to a four-seam. Because then he'll get more vert on the pitch, and he'll get above the barrel. I think the critical mistake here is 3 sinkers in a row. It's not so much the location. This pitch is above the zone. But because it's 3 shapes in a row, Carpenter could perfectly match the bat path to the pitch. And I feel like if that was a 4-seam, he would have popped it up. I also think he's been so heavy usage on the fastball in general. And I'd like to see him, you know, maybe back away from that a little bit at times. Because I do think these Tigers hitters are pretty good at preparing, and they've been gearing up really well for his fastball. So let's see here if I can find the game. I think it's probably this game. No, this is the Skubal game. Yeah, it was the 9th. No, it wasn't. I think it was the 4th. Yeah, it was the 4th. Yeah, so this is what I was talking about a little bit with George. 44 sinkers, so only 16 four-seamers. I'd like to see that evened out a little bit more so the shapes are not as consistent. I'd like to see 2 hard pitches with 2 different shapes thrown at these guys a little bit more. He did go 29 sliders, only 4 knuckle curves and 1 changeup. So the other issue I'm seeing is everything's kind of hard. The sinker averages 97, the four-seam averages 97, the slider averages 88, which is still relatively hard. There's nothing in the 2 speeds down, speed band. In terms of whiffs, I think he would have done a little better if he could have mixed up his types a little bit. As effective as the sinker is overall, 4 whiffs and 14 swings. It's okay, could be better. He got 9 on 21 swings with the slider, 43%, so maybe he goes to that a little bit more in strikeout situations. And overall, it's going to be interesting to see the adjustments made by both sides. So I'm looking for him to mix in a little bit more soft stuff in this game. As for Skubal, Skubal pitched, I believe on the 5th. Yeah, he goes 7 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. And for the most part, he was, did I just do 6-7? That's my daughter would like that. 6-7. My daughter would like it. So we'll do it. Anyway, Skubal, he was mostly a knife through butter. So what day was this? It was on the 5th. Detroit and Seattle. The 5th. But he did, I feel like, overall, I wouldn't change his approach too much, but you do got to watch out a little bit to Polanco just not getting quit here. Not getting too predictable. Fastball away, and not getting cute is what I meant to say. Fastball away, changeup away. I expect him to stick with that versus Polo today. Mostly away for a guy whose power's all dead pull from the right side. This was a questionable pitch for me. A 2-0 slider, kind of giving him the one pitch he can handle, and he pulled it to the inside part of the plate. I don't think you'll see any of that again. I expect him to honestly obliterate Polanco today. Skubal's the type of guy that's going to come out and just shove it down their throats if he can. This was the 2nd home run. This one I quibble with a little bit less. I question a little bit why he threw a sinker and ends up getting clipped. But overall, you know, I give credit to Polanco for being on time with a fastball. Fastball. There's another fastball in. That's a strike. I like the 4-seam to Polanco getting in on the hands more than the sinker that comes back and gives him a chance over the middle of the plate, which is what he eventually gets clipped on. But other than that, I think Tarek will learn. I also think he's the type of pitcher, awfully hard to, just because you've seen him once or twice, to make a great adjustment. The reality is, you have to meet his level every single time. The fastball is incredible. He pounds the zone with it. And the changeup is next level. And this is the pitch I'm kind of questioning a little bit. Sinker. I'm not going to question it totally because 95% 5% of hitters are missing this. But I think with Polanco, at least, they're going to make sure that they make him beat him to the other side of the park. And I think one of the issues here is he goes change up right before it. So those pitches each have arm side movement leading up to the sinker. So there was an expectation that the ball was going to run back over the plate, even though it started in, and that's why he swung at it. So that's about all there is to really learn, I would say. It's just these 2 home runs. Other than that, Tarek looked great. I expect him to look great today. This is the Detroit advantage. They have one of the best pitchers in the world, and he's going to try to shove it down their throat pretty hard in this game. So that was on the 5th. Yeah, Skubal goes 37 four-seamers, 22 sinkers, 21 changeups, 17 sliders. But I think he will learn from the fact that changeup, he could throw it even more. 10 swings on changeup, 5 whiffs, 50% whiff. Pretty good. Now, I know he also had good whiff on the slider, but I think that's more so versus the lefties. 5 whiffs on 12 strings. I think versus righties, he could maybe use the slider a bit backdoor early, but I would not go to it down the middle or when you have to use the big fat part of the strike zone and you're down in the count like 2-1 or 2-0. I think that's a mistake. So I think he's going to stick with four-seam sinkers and changeups, heavy sliders, mainly only to lefties. Interestingly, in this last game, he threw 14 of his sliders to righties. I don't think you'll see as much of that today. So that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting to watch, and we'll find out. All right, let's go back to the packet a little bit. Let me just check the chat real quick, and then we can get prepared a little more with some of the nuggets that they give us in here. All right, we already read through all of this. This is a couple notes on Kirby. Kirby gave up 2 runs in 5 innings in game 1 with 8 Ks and only 1 walk. We watched the home run. Kirby was sinker heavy in game 1 with his 46.8% usage, second highest rate of his career ever. He touched 99 and 97.1 average velo was 3rd highest ever. So expect him to come out firing. But again, I think he'll split the difference a little more between sinkers and four seams today. Just because it's unorthodox, Nick, doesn't mean you can't repeat it. It's just like there's a feel within that allows them to repeat it. But I also feel like repeating, quote unquote, repeating your mechanics is a little bit overrated. You want to be in the same time zone, of course, timing wise and in physical space. But you have to think of it more as an athletic dance and a rhythm and a feel thing than like a robotic, like repeat thing. And I think Skubal does a great job of just pitching free and easy and trusting himself that he's going to be able to link up his hands and his eyes, telling him where he wants to throw it. So when I watch him, I just see a guy who's unshackled in a way. Like other guys are so mechanic and robotic. I just see he's just flowing with it. Yes, it's a little abnormal, but he does a great job being consistent with it, obviously, because his walk rate's incredible. There's a lot of Dodgers talk here. No, don't need that. And then we have a good breakdown on Skubal here. All right, Skubal followed up. So pitching mechanics aren't like jump shot mechanics. I would say no. Way more going on than a jump shot, than a free throw. Like a free throw is just, and a jump shot too, you're trying to get square in the same way every single time. But I think with pitching, there's a lot of nuance on the end. There's times you have to be a little quicker, a little slower with guys on base, guys not on base. Also, you want to vary your times up a little bit. I just think some guys do get really good at doing it in the robotic way, but I think when you're freed up and you're free and easy, there's something to be said for that too. So, he's an elite athlete in a way. He's got a weird body, Skubal, no doubt about it. If you see the difference in his calves, there's something weird going on there. Obviously, he's not the skinniest dude in the world, but that's what you need as a pitcher sometimes. Mass equals gas for sure. And he makes it work. All right, let's talk Skubal a little bit here as well. So obviously these tables stink, but he's right there with Logan Webb, Skeens, Wheeler as the top guys in every single metric. Clearly, Skubal and Skeens are the best 2 pitchers in the sport at the moment. He's on the verge of becoming the 11th pitcher to win consecutive Cy Youngs. The most recent was Nick's comment here, Mr. Jacob deGrom. Literally the best. I say this as a compliment. I say this with a compliment because weird is good in baseball. I think I was weird, so I think weird is good. Anyway, the most recent back-to-back Cy Young was deGrom. He switched his changeup group in 2023, and that changed his whole fortunes. It's become arguably the most devastating pitch in the sport. He pairs it with 2 variations of the fastball and a slider, which of course has also been effective when you have, one elite pitch leading the way. His changeup has been worth plus 25 run value. That's insane. That's the best pitch in the game by run value. Off-speed pitch metrics through the years. So these are the changeups over the years, and you can see how the inches of drop really tick up right in 2023. He was averaging 28.5 in 21, and then he got to 33.8 in 23, and he's maintained it pretty good since then. He has backed it up a little bit, but now he's getting more run on this changeup the last 2 years as well. About 15 inches of run on the outside. Look at the seam shifted wake movement in 2020 green. 5 years ago, the pitch moved the same way as it was when it was released. This year, the movement is a completely different location. So here's a good lesson for you guys. When you look on Baseball Savant, you're going to see spin-based movement on the left here on the left table, and you're going to see observed movement on the right. The amount that the observed movement deviates from that spin-based movement, that is your seam shift effect. So you see here, this is the movement at release and the movement at the plate on the right. They definitely deviate. You see that green kicks down a little bit closer to 9 o'clock, and really everything shifts over a little bit. That shows you that he's getting great seam effects. He's getting great seam effects on his pitches. So his pitches are moving in unexpected late kind of ways, and that shows you that the grip change has really made a big difference. With the help of Tigers front office and Robin Lund, a pitching coach and former professor of kinesiology, Skubal reworked his delivery, helping unlock his elite velocity. In fact, his average velocity is among the best of any lefty starter in the pitch tracking era. James Paxton, 2016 James Paxton, 97.5, and then 2020 to 2022, Tarek Skubal, 97.4. So very, very impressive. Crochet, McClanahan are the others. Skubal's fastball's still gotten better every year not just in terms of velocity, also in terms of carry and movement. Now, this is his four-seam metrics over the years. You can see here the inches of arm side break I want to key in on. 8.3 in 2022. That looks straight as a string. That is not what you want. The rule of eights with the movement pitches. 8 is a bad number. 8 looks straight. Not 0, 8 looks straight. So then anything less than that is going to have perceived cut on it. He starts to lean into that the next few years. 2023, 7.1, so slight perceived cut. Last year, 6.5, so a little bit more slight perceived cut. And then now 3.5 inches of run, which is extreme perceived cut at his velocity. And then you look at the stuff plus on it, it's ticked up every single year, where 100 is league average. He used to be around there with that fastball. Now he's at 113. So that's a really, really good pitch. 13% better than league average. With his velocity, Skubal just pounds the strike zone, putting opponent hitters behind the 8-ball. So this is in-zone leaders since start of 2024 and first pitch strikes. And yes, he's at the very top. Him, Brian Wu, Miles Michaelis, Logan Gilbert. There's Tarek Skubal right after that. 55% in-zone, 97 miles an hour, and 68, I think, I can't read this, but I think it's 69 or 60-ish, 69-ish% first pitch strikes, which is outstanding. It's pretty much the most low-hanging fruit to improve your pitching is just throw strike one. He's incredible at that, and he makes them swing. Skubal can overpower hitters in the zone, but generates more chase than anybody. So in-zone whiff percentage leaders, he has that 25%, which is outstanding, but then he also gets 35.1% chase, which is also elite. If you can get them to swing at your pitches more than a third of the time outside of the zone, you're in a great, great, great spot. Splits by count, 0-0, 1-0, 0-1 counts, and all others. Obviously, we don't really even need to know that. That's pretty basic stuff. Longest difference in slugging since start of 2024. Batters faced in both types by counts. Also a big difference. When he's in the 0-0, 1-0, 0-1, 563, all others 227. So a 335-point slugging difference, and that's why he's so vigilant about throwing those first pitch strikes. First pitch usage. Fastball versus righties, 48% fastball. Lefties, 72% fastball. And then with two strikes, he's about 50-50. With changeups, first pitch, he's 20.6% to righties, very low versus lefties, but then with two strikes, it ticks up to 41 and 30. Slider, he's about the same all around. He does tend to use the slider a little more early than late. And then the curveball is strictly a first pitch dumper type of pitch. When he throws it, it's usually just to steal a strike. And versus the Mariners this 2025 season, which is fascinating, he's actually 0-3 versus the Mariners. In 17 and 2/3, he's given up 15 hits and 4 homers. So I feel like he's thrown okay, but he's gotten clipped a little bit by some of these dudes. Does that play in? Can he go 0-4 versus Seattle this year? to me, that would be a little odd. But here's a little note. His changeup usage was down against the Mariners in Game 2, second straight start in which he leaned more on his slider. I think this is what we noticed when we were watching the tape, when we were watching it as well on the tape. He should go back to more changeup here. I expect a much heavier changeup use and less slider here. Lean on your best pitches in the situation. You know, these righties are doing him a favor if you're throwing them sliders in the zone. I don't have a problem versus lefties, but versus the righties, I like to see more fastballs both sides of the plate, mixing up the two shapes between the four and the sinker, and then heavy changeup usage. That's what I would like to see. Although Seattle did do a good job of not chasing his changeup in Game 2. They chased it only 23%, so that's his third lowest of the season. But to me, it's a small sample, so I would say, I don't believe you. Let's see if you can do it again. Instead, Seattle was aggressive against Skubal sliders in the zone. So this is the same thing that I was just talking about in the video. They're breaking it down here on the heat map. When he's behind in the count, he's making a lot of mistakes middle into righties. This is the damage pitch. That's why I don't like it behind in the count as I get back in the zone pitch. If he's going to throw it early for strike, I need it backdoor, like actually backdoor in the area where he hasn't been throwing it versus righties. Otherwise, I say scrap it. And then with two strikes, he's been better at going away. But again, this isn't a great two-strike location either to a righty. So I think the lack of command with his slider versus righties is a little bit of an issue. The Mariners are one of the best teams and most aggressive at swinging at the first pitch. That's why I'm expecting a lot of first pitch changeups tonight from Skubal. If he can land his changeup in that down and away quadrant, first pitch, he's going to get quick outs and he's going to set himself up really nicely. If he struggles with that, with location or with just throwing balls, like either mistakes in the middle or throwing balls, I think that obviously leans in the Mariners' favor. So this is a very fascinating matchup, given that they just matched up. The notes people here are saying that the game plan will be attack Skubal early in counts. It doesn't mean it'll work. In the ALDS last year, the Guardians made sure to swing more at the first pitch against Skubal in Game 5. He allowed one hit in the four scoreless before Lane Thomas clipped him. Seattle had swung at 44.4% of the pitches in Game 2 of the ALDS. Could that number be even higher in Game 5? I do think it'll be higher. I think they'll continue to be aggressive. They don't want to strike out. They're looking to do damage. The best chance to do damage against a guy who throws a lot of first pitch strikes is to cheat first pitch and go for it. So, yeah, I expect that to be the case. I really do. That's a little breakdown on Skubal, and kind of how it might play out in this matchup today. It's going to be interesting to watch for sure. I'm excited for this game. Anytime you have the best pitcher in the world in a back to the wall situation, I like that dynamic just as an entertainment. How much do teams value perceived movement and velo? A lot. A lot. It all goes into their algorithm. Anything on the high end of any of these charts will give you a bump up. Early Big Maple was a madman. I've spoken about it earlier. You know, Pax was a teammate of mine and actually my plane neighbor on the 2019 Yankees. Like, we used to sit next to each other on the plane. I watched Paxton pitch a game versus the Rockies in Seattle that will never leave my mind. It looked like he was throwing in slow motion out there, and yet it was 100 miles an hour the whole game, and we had no freaking shot. And he looked like, quite frankly, one of the best lefties I'd ever watched that day. So he caught my attention right away the first time we saw him. Also, he let a freaking eagle land on his arm and didn't flinch. So he was a madman. He was a stud. Oh, yeah, and then he specters on it about the eagle landing on him. As a general question, do you have Skubal as AL Cy Young this year for sure? Do you think Crochet gives him run for his money? I think Skubal wins it. I think Crochet gets some votes, but I think Skubal wins it. I think it's close. Ultimately, the much lower whip makes a big difference here, in my opinion. And Skubal will take home Cy Young number 2, and Crochet will have something to hunt him down for next year. What's the difference in the movement between yours and Skeen's changeup? You guys use similar grip, similar slot, but you're using seam shifted wake, but Skeen shifts the axis and pronates. I think he's actually using seam shifted wake a little bit as well. Hold on, I got a phone call coming in from the wife. Hello. Hello. What's up? Is that okay? Everything okay? What? I'm on the stream right now. You good though? I just wanted to make sure you were good. All right, I'll call you after. All right, love you. Bye. Sorry, guys. the wife calls and she knows I'm on the stream, it's like maybe it's important. Difference between my movement and Skeen's movement. All right. Let's see. We'll do a quick look at that. All right, so we need Skeens first. The great Paul Skeens. Look at that red. Look at that sea of red. And then we need the used to been Adam Ottavino. Now, I didn't throw any changeups this year, I don't think, because it was only like a couple games, so I got to go back a little bit here. Down. My best year, my most valuable changeup year was 2023, actually. So we'll go to that. I threw it at 87.6, spin base 2, observe 3. So I was shifting at a full minute on the clock. And movement-wise that year, I had kind of a weird change-up movement this year. Oh, that's run values. Here's the movement, sorry. Change-up movement on Ottavino 2023. It was 1.4 vert, 12.9 arm side. And now we'll go to the great Paul Skeens from this year. His movement on his changeup was 5.4 vert, 16.6 arm side. So very different. I had more drop. He has more run. Also, he throws his pitch a little bit harder than mine. Let's go look at the release angle stuff. He releases his at 245. So his slot's a little higher than mine, and he seam shifts it actually reverse to 230. So yeah, there's more of a pronation based changeup type of pitch. I'm surprised to see that a little bit with his slot. But yeah, very, very different. Very, very different pitches between me and Mr. Skeens. Curious on the arm angles. He's at 23. I'm at 25. So that's interesting. Arm angle's lower, yet the spin's totally different. So the grips are totally different. Mine's more of a seam shift. His isn't, apparently. So good question there by Jaden. And fun thing to look out. I also love this idea for Brian Wu coming about with Ric Flair, with the pyros and everything. I wish he was in this series. That would have been another weapon for the Mariners to use. Kind of a shame they didn't have it. It's flown under the radar a little bit, but a big deal. All right, what else we got? Yeah, she found the keys earlier. We're all good. Baseball person and caring person. Yeah, that's me. That lines up. All right. I watched a video we just talked about changeup. So in the off season, I think I will be making a lot more videos breaking down things more than this style. That's kind of certainly the plan. So we'll see how that goes. But we'll definitely do that. Aw, look at my wife. She's making me look good on the stream. Do you ever agree when you're pitching that your manager wants to intentionally walk someone? Yes, sometimes. Usually as a pitcher, you don't like it because it adds another walk to your ledger and also another potential run that could score. But there's times where it makes sense. Unequivocally, it makes sense. Like if I'm facing, I don't know, Cal Raleigh and I have a righty on deck, yeah, it makes sense. Give me the righty all day long. So that's kind of how it is. All right, is there anything else in here? Because I got a spot in MLB Network in a minute. We have done an hour 30 today, which has been solid. Let me just make sure. There's some more talks here about the Phillies, Dodgers. I don't think we're going to do any more on that. We watched a lot of that. Obviously, the Phillies have a lot of... They're similar to the Yankees. A lot of questions on what they're going to do in the offseason. You know, they've had a big high-end roster for a while. Schwarber's a free agent. That's a big deal. So we'll see. There is a little note here on the 82 and 2025 Brewers. I don't think it's really that relevant for our stream here, but it is showing lowest percentage of runs via homer. There's some similarities there. Pete Vukovich, only starter to win a Cy Young award. He went 18-6, 3.34 to win the Cy Young. He also had 102 walks, 105 strikeouts to win the Cy Young. That's insane. That's insane. Okay. This was a question from Brett. We were wondering if I should do some signed merch as a different thing. So if you guys think that, perhaps let us know in the chat or in the comments. And then also, I'm gonna start doing the giveaways pretty soon. I'm gonna go dig some of those balls out of the attic, and then we'll do some giveaways. Of course, Pirate, thanks for being in the chat. Appreciate everybody that's been in the chat consistently. It's awesome. Thanks a lot for being here. Colin Box Breaks, thanks a lot. This has been really good. All right, so there's really nothing in here that's left. Big game tonight to focus on the 8 o'clock game, which is the, yeah, we have shipping to Canada as well. We do. I think we are. I don't think we have an issue with that. We're doing the shipping, so we'll figure all that out. But Canadians, don't be shy. Hop in the merch store if you want something. What was I gonna say? Little scheduling. Little scheduling. Just making sure everybody knows what the schedule will be like. Thanks, MLB. Moving forward, I'm not gonna do Baseball After Dark tonight with the one game being on pretty late. I'd prefer to break it down in its entirety tomorrow on Baseball After Dark, so we have something to break down from the Game 5, as well as the Baseball After Dark live game, which will be tomorrow night between the Cubs and the Brewers. So that's how we're going to work it. That's how we're going to work it. And I'm sorry that there will be no baseball and coffee tomorrow morning, but Saturday is, obviously for the families. And we have a lot of stuff going on always on Saturdays. So we could do Saturday night, probably pretty late. I'll announce the time. Could be 9. I have to go to dinner with the LeMayhews tomorrow. But we should be back at a reasonable hour because we don't like to stay out late. And then I'll be on. So I'll let you guys know. You'll see an upcoming posted pretty soon on the YouTube channel. Until then, have a great day. Have a great Friday. Have the great beginning of your weekend. Enjoy Game 5 tonight. Scooble Kirby. And we'll see what happens. All right? Peace out, guys. Thanks for watching.